for us.
So welcome everyone to our March 1st edition of CreateAWorld. So here in CreateAWorld, in the field of Tantra Mat, we have conversations. And today we'll be talking specifically about technology and discussing that topic with a digital native. So we're hoping that that will open your eyes to some ways of thinking about things. But for those of you who may be joining CreateAWorld for the first time, we have this conversation inside of principles that support this field that we have created. And those principles include the fact that everything has a place. Everything operates on behalf of everything else. Everything's part of everything else. Everything's in relationship to everything else. Everything operates on behalf of life and having us exist as whole. And that's even going to apply to this wacky technology incident that we share with you in just a second. So we're here again to have a conversation, and we invite you to be curious. You can actually engage in the conversation by posting questions on YouTube. We're happy to have you be a part of the conversation in that way. And we're happy to have you in this rich community opportunity. Because one of the things that we are really passionate about and we want to support with CreateAWorld is the fact that that we're each a unique and essential design of creation. You are you, I am me, Christina's Christina, but and then we're a we together. And so part of the CreateAWorld is to help weave that we are together. I'm Janice. I'm one of the facilitators. I've been facilitating for quite a while. I am, in addition to doing this, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm a performer, an actor. I'll be taking my one-woman show to the LA Women's Theater Festival in March. But all of that is because I really, I am a passionate student of the human soul. People fascinate me. I believe in humanity's goodness, humanity's potential, even despite everything that is going on around. And that's why this work is really, really important to me, because there are positive voices to be raised, even amidst the darkness. And I'm here with Christina Oakes, and I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit more in a minute, but I've known Christina for how long now, Christina? 8
Like 5
years,
years? Yeah,
something.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a while. I don't know.
I started working with Christina when I was working in the public school system, and she supported a grant that I was a part of, and then I introduced her to Tantra Mat, and she started to do work supporting Tantra Mat, including she handles really all the big tech stuff behind CreateAWorld. And what struck me so much about Christina from the very beginning of working with her was her figure outer muscle. You could say to Christina, I need something to do this, and she would figure out how to do it. And it's definitely part of her unique and essential design of creation. And she benefits a lot of people in her work as a virtual assistant, leveraging that skill. Christina, anything else you want to add?
You did an amazing job. But yeah, I'm Christina Golden-Oakes now. But yeah, so everyone still knows me as Christina Oakes, but I'm a virtual assistant and I run my own company. It's called Encompass Virtual Assistant. So I have several different clients and my whole drive behind what I do is to use technology to make the lives of my clients better. So to take some of those tasks off of them that are taking up more of their time than what they are good at. So and like for Tantramont, she's very good in what she does in her world and doing her classes and doing her engagements, but not necessarily making sure that the website's working and that she has the scheduling working out. She would spend a lot of energy doing that, whereas she can now save that energy and use it other places. And I try to make it easier so that both of us can work together. But yeah, so yeah, I think that answered.
Yeah. So speaking of Tantramont and the field of Tantramont, so why don't you share what happened this morning?
So as many of you probably know, if you are in the field of Tantramont, we're moving over into a subscription-based program. So instead of an individual getting events individually, it will be in a subscription so that I'll just bill you every month, and then you'll be able to easily find the events and make it more steady for us, Tantramont's team. Um, so what happened is this is the first month that everyone was supposed to be billed at the same time on March 1st, and when it went to go through at it was 1 a.m. my time at midnight at Mountain Time, it crashed and it just canceled out all of the subscriptions. So I went and looked up the coding behind what the error they were saying and found out it was really on Acuity's end that it was failing. So I've already gone and contacted them. So it can definitely be why people would want to back away from technology, like see it failed, it went out. And it definitely can be frustrating. Like I was not excited to find all those emails this morning about it. I would rather have gone through, but sometimes things just happen and you just gotta play with it through and having patience with it. Because once it's figured out now, hopefully it won't be an issue again. Um, so and technology is so vast that you can't expect to know everything. So I know a lot of things, but I don't know everything. So it's also that you have to reach out to other people. Like I reached out to the people that know acuities behind the scenes and everything like that. Um, so that they're able to fix the account on their side because I can't do anything on my side. Um, so it definitely showed that technology can have its problems, but as long as you stick with it, it can end up being a great thing along the end of the road. So,
Right. I mean, certainly, you know, so many people rely on websites to share the work that they do and for people to be able to read about them whenever they happen to want to read about them, as opposed to inside of, 9 to 5 business hours in this time zone or that time zone or that time zone. Having reach out communications and on all that sort of thing are really dependent on technology. And I now do so much of the work in the world that I do on Zoom, which wouldn't be possible without technology. So I consider myself sort of a solid beginner to intermediate technology user. I definitely don't consider myself to be an expert. I don't consider myself to be a neophyte. It doesn't scare me the way it used to. I can remember because I was in college, the very first time I typed a paper on a computer. I was in college. And as I was typing, I was literally afraid that I would hit a key and make the computer blow up. I mean, like really, that was my genuine concern. Not just that what I was typing wouldn't save somehow, but that something structurally would actually explode. And I'm far past that now. I do not get intimidated. I'm willing to do troubleshooting on my own. YouTube, and thank goodness for that. But Christina is a digital native. And so I thought we would talk a little bit about what that means to you, Christina, to be a digital native, and how you experience your relationship with technology that you can see is different from a lot of other folks.
So I like my generation because we're definitely in between the kids that are given iPhones like when they're children versus like when I was a baby, when I was a child, like we didn't have computers and stuff like that. That was still coming around. I was born in 97, and my I actually remember my mom telling me, I was too little to remember at the time, but my dad went back to college when I was in elementary school, early 2000s, and he got to use a computer at the college, and he use the internet for the first time, and he came back to my mom like, "Oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Like this is going to become big and all of this kind of stuff." And she was just like, "Yeah, no, no, like everyone's gonna have it in their hand, everyone's gonna have a computer and be able to access it." And my mom was like, "No, that's not gonna happen." And then like by force it just came in. And then everyone had access in their phone, have more technology in your hand than what they used to get to the moon. So that's why I always try to remember things like that, where and that's why I try not to get frustrated with technology, is because also I remember that there is a time when you couldn't contact someone that was across the state. Like this wouldn't have been possible 20 years ago. So, and to have it this well and to be able to see people so visibly and all this kind of stuff. So keeping that in mind. But I definitely was a digital native because when I was in high school and stuff like that, I was doing papers online and stuff like that. And I always found the value in technology when I started, um, as I was through my school years. I did a lot of leadership roles. So starting in high school, I worked as I was on the team for my National Honor Society, as well as I became the president my senior year. So I used technology to try to make that better. So that's when I was starting making my first newsletters. I was starting to make text message reminders and making that all those issues easier for the students that were in my club, because I didn't want them to fail because they forgot that trash pickup was today, or they forgot that they needed to do X, Y, or Z. I wanted it to be easy for them. So I started using technology and figuring out these ways. I didn't know how to use MailChimp before that point, but I taught myself so that I could use it to better my club and make it easier for everyone. I also I grew up as a Girl Scout. All through my years, I started when I was in late elementary school, going all the way up into high school, and I actually received my gold award. And what I did for my gold award is that I have a learning disability, so it was a class that I ran that was online for teachers to learn about what the experiences was on my end, to learn and to experience classes through my point of view and how I best coped with everything. Um, it, even teachers, like a lot of teachers understand their students, but it's a lot harder when you have 25 students in your classroom to know what each kid is experiencing. Um, and I still remember I had a teacher in middle school that he was my English teacher, and they always had quiet time where you were supposed to read your section. They never knew I faked read during that entire period because I could not, at that point I couldn't read something on the page without either saying it out loud or hearing it as well. So I had to hear the audio version of it, as well as read it for me to understand it. So I spent that entire 20 minutes fake reading, and then I went home with my mom, and she either helped me read it, or my mom was amazing. She actually figured out how to make audiobooks when we couldn't find audiobooks of the books we were reading. And she would like record herself when she was traveling, reading the sections of books so that I could listen to it and read it and then understand the book. So I've seen the value in technology and how it can help kids, especially with audiobooks and having access to those. So I used the online platform for the teachers so that I could teach them about that, and it could be live and they could ask questions and I could do activities where I could explain stuff to them. So, and that was before Zoom was a thing. That was we used I think we used like I actually had to learn the system. It was a system my mom used. I can't even remember what it was called.
Adobe
Um,
Connect.
I think that
Yeah.
might be what we used. But yeah, so I had to learn that whole new thing, and that was like it was really different for the time. It was before all of the Zoom. It wasn't that long before it, but it was before this was a normal thing. And then I recorded a shortened version of it and put it up onto TeacherTube so that other teachers could watch it at their own time and stuff like that. So it could further that help for teachers in the future and for students that were similar to me with learning disabilities. So I've always tried to use technology to its best. And then once I got into college, they definitely knew how important technology was and how better to make it. I went to a large college. I went to the University of Florida, and I did a business degree. And it's one of the largest colleges on the campus, and they actually do a lot of their curriculum virtually. So they will live um, do their classes, but then they'll record it and you can watch it at any time. So you didn't necessarily have to be there for certain classes. So you watch it online and then you submit everything online because you didn't have to actually be there. So you were kind of forced to learn more things as you went with college and stuff like that. And teachers were not very nice when it came to technology. They you always had to do stuff early because they didn't care that you tried to submit something 5 minutes before and your internet went out or the system went down. You should have submitted it 10 minutes before. So it's kind of things like you learn as you grow and as that goes. I think probably they've gotten more lenient now, but they were very harsh when I was in college. You did not want to mess with stuff. You wanted to get stuff in early, make sure everything was good. Um, and always make sure you're choosing the right file. That was a big thing. So I remember that being don't upload your math assignment for your English assignment. They're not going to be very happy with you.
So how do you feel like all of that frames now how you look at technology? And so like, so like this situation that happened this morning, what is it that goes through your head, and what's the conversation you have with yourself? What's the conversation you're having with technology?
Um, so what I kind of have where I think I do it as more of my mental state as and to just help me understand it is I think of internet and websites and my computer as kind of a being, as a person, where it can be cranky, it can be not happy to be working. So like when stuff goes wrong on Monday mornings, be like, oh well, my computer's not ready to work on Monday morning yet. It's all good. Um and it's just kind of like you got to work with it. Like when I saw that this morning, I was just like, QD was not ready for all those subscriptions to go through. I guess like it was just like, nah, that's too many. Let's just not make that happen. So it's just like I just try to laugh with it and make it so that I think of it as just an just a being just being grumpy like a human would. Sometimes things go wrong and it's just it will never be flawless, so never expect it to be flawless. everything's constantly changing. That's why we have constant updates on our phone, on our computers, and why they consistently are doing things, because there's a lot of different mechanics moving at the same time. And that's when I try to think back to the whole, you have more technology in your hand than they had going to the moon. Like, that still boggles my mind. I've heard it multiple times. But like, the amount going on to be able to link you to everything that you have going on in your phone is something that I'm still astonished at. So I try to give a little leeway to, and to try not to get upset with it, and try to learn with it. It's definitely another language. Um, and I've definitely learned how to speak that language. I can't speak any other human language, but I definitely understand the technology language. And that I try to go back and forth with it. And I know sometimes it's just so foreign to people that it just scares them right away. Um, but try not to shut down, try not to blame it on yourself, try not to blame it on technology. Just try to work with it as you go. Because every time there's an issue, 95% of the time, I don't immediately know what the right answer is. Sometimes it's a repeating problem that I know the answer to, but sometimes it's a problem I've never heard of. So I go and search. Like the coding this morning, I had no idea what it meant. I went and Googled it. I went to see if other people have had this issue, and that's how I figured out it was a problem that um was probably not on our end. It was more on Acuity's end. So then we have to wait for their tech to help. So there are helpful things out there. You just got to take the time and the energy, just like learning a new language. You just got to be patient with yourself, patient with the new material, patient as you guys get to the middle ground where you guys can both understand each other. So that's how I kind of view it. And I think by the end of it, it does help. Because I think the fact that we can do this now and that we can get all this information to people that are super far away, like with Tantra's community, we're working with people from Australia, we're working with people from Europe, we're working from people all over the planet. And this wouldn't be possible without the internet, without technology and all this kind of stuff. So things change and things will sometimes get worse before they get better, but eventually they will improve on what they're doing and improve on how you're doing things. Um, so it's definitely being patient. I know it was very hard when we moved over into the subscription-based program, because people were like, why are we changing this? I know exactly what to do here. Why is everything different? And I tried to, as nicely as I could, explain to them that, yes, it was working for you, but it wasn't working for this person, or it wasn't working for Tantra, or it wasn't working for me, or the technology just wasn't there. What was ending up with the system before, it was a lot of us having to do a lot of behind the scenes to get the information. And when Tantra wanted to move over subscription, it was meant that we needed a new system because the system we had was not going to be able to handle it. So it's definitely new, but it's definitely a different way to view things. So just like or learning a new skill, it's going to be hard at the beginning, but if you're patient with it, then you'll have this amazing. I feel like you're learning quilting. It'd be hard at the beginning, but then you have amazing blanket at the end. So that's how I try to look at it.
Can you talk a little bit more about the sort of the specifics of your figure outer approach? I mean, so so Tantra says to you, I need to move over to a subscription base, and it's kind of like, okay, Christina, tag, you're it, figure it out. So how's that work for you?
Um, it's it's quite hard to explain, honestly, because like I don't even know where my mind goes sometimes. But specifically with that situation, I always try to, my clients are my number one. So Tantra will be the number one person I will be working for. And so I want to make sure that, yes, her clients are happy, but I want to make sure she's happy as well and that she has the most off her plate as she can. As well as I don't want to encourage the spend of money that more spend of money than she already has. So I want to use something that she's either already paying for or something that's free. So that's when I started to look at Acuity. We were already using it for engagements. So I started to mess around with their subscription thing, see where we could go with that. Go through all of the different conversations we had of looking at it different ways. So the fact that she had different events that were going to be for different groups of people, like we would have people in the US and the European time zones versus people in Australian time zones versus the people that were also guardians. So we needed a system that could have those multiple subscriptions going. We also needed a way to make sure that they had the option with the Magician of Self that's in the US and European time zones so that they could choose which one they wanted to go to without it not causing an issue and without Tantra giving out the information to both when she really only wants one to be included with the subscription, if that makes sense. So it definitely takes a while, and it's Google is your friend, I like to say. So when I was trying to figure out like if Acuity could do something, sometimes I would just Google that kind of question, be like, can Acuity how does Acuity subscriptions work? And sometimes I'll watch people's YouTube videos where they go through the different things because I'm not an expert. I wasn't an expert on Acuity. I still don't think I'm an expert on Acuity. I'm still learning stuff about it. So I'm going to go and find their help materials, find other people that have figured it out and stuff like that. Because if someone ever tells you they're an expert on the internet, everything on the internet, everything in technology, they're lying to you because there's no way you can know everything. There's going to be something that they aren't familiar with. So yeah, that's why it's everyone's like, oh, you're an expert on technology. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm an expert at figuring out new things in technology. So I have the patience and I have the language to figure out where I need to learn when to go. So that's kind of my process. If that helps answer the question, but yeah. I did the similar things to Spadig. I made sure that we used what we currently had to make sure that the systems were running well and that our coaching lists were maintaining, updating, and stuff like that. So, and I added a little bit more technology to that and resources to that because it was something that we deemed would be helpful. So, hopefully that answered the question. Hopefully made a little bit of sense.
Yeah, let's wrap back to this idea of patience, right? Because I mean, to me, that is a big skill that you leverage in this, is you're willing to go here and go there to figure things out. So to you, what's that patience look like? Why do you feel like you're able to exercise that patience? What's the relationship you have with technology that you can be patient with it?
Um, I think I'm a very patient person. I will say that to begin with. And I'm also an empath, if anyone knows what that is. And I think it links over into technology. Like I feel it and I feel the emotions of people. But I as well as I try to give technology the leeway I would give any person. And I try to find out when it's having issues. Is my computer running slower and all this kind of stuff? Is it not working how I want it to work? Okay, maybe it's having a hard time. Maybe something's running in the background that shouldn't be. Let's shut it down, let it reset, and then go for it. Um, so it's kind of using that same kind of idea that you would treat a person, treat your computer, treat your hardware, treat your phone, treat the internet technology with that same kind of respect and then and that patience. Um because it's trying its hardest, I think. Because I think people will sometimes jump to the conclusion that, oh, this technology is out to get me, it doesn't want me to understand, it doesn't want me to give me the information, and it's really not. It's trying to do what you want it to do. It just wants to do what you're telling it to do. But maybe the stuff you're putting into it isn't what it understands is what you want. So let's say I want to order a ham sandwich, but I'm talking to someone that's Spanish. And so I say I want a ham sandwich in English. And when they hear it and when they're thinking in Spanish, maybe they think I'm saying a turkey sandwich. So they give me a turkey sandwich. I can't really be upset at them because I said what I thought was right for Spanish and they didn't obviously understand that. So they're trying to do what they think is right. She was trying to give me the right sandwich, but that's just not what she heard. So it's when technology is not going to purposefully try to get out for you. It's just sometimes it doesn't always get the right instructions, or sometimes something's trying to mess with it. That's why it's so hard because um, of the fact that people are out there trying to corrupt servers, and why you really need to be careful about your security and things like that, virus protection and stuff like that, not opening links that um, could be viruses and stuff like that, not opening links, emails, anything like that, because that will corrupt your server, corrupt your computer and stuff like that. And then it won't want to work for you because it's trying to listen to this virus that's going to take it over. So that's kind of how I view it with the patients. I know it's a really weird concept and it's really hard to grasp for someone um, that doesn't that is new to technology and it already scares them. It's gonna be hard to like relax with it. But I think if you take the time, you'll figure out that yes, it is it can be helpful and you don't have to know everything. Just know what you want to know. Just know what you would like to do. If you want to go to social media, make sure you learn how to you can get to social media and how you can use social media what you want. If you want to be creating websites, learning how to create websites and how to sustain them and stuff like that, doesn't mean you need to know everything that's going on. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. I mean, I sort of officially started my own business, around the end of last year. And that meant building a website. And I also, at the same time, was starting to take my one-woman show to other places. And that meant learning something about QLab, which is the program that they use to put all of the, so I have sound cues in my show, I have light cues, I have projection cues. And so QLab is a way to put all those together so it's easier for the person who's running the technology of the show to be able to do that. But I had no idea about QLab and package versus this and that, and file formats and all that sort of. And yeah, and so at times it can be very overwhelming, and trying to what did I know about posting a video to Facebook as opposed to just a comment, or and there's a million things to learn. And I've had to tell myself repeatedly, okay, take a step back, learn this one thing, and learn this, and then, that thing that you think you're going to need, 4 miles down the road, you can wait till you're a little closer to it to actually start working on that. And I also think it's very important to keep asking yourself that question, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? And what, because I feel like these are some of the questions that you ask the people that you support. So, as much as possible, what's the picture in your mind of what the outcome will be? What does it look like that it does this or it does that and it doesn't do this and it doesn't do that? So I do think, I do think it takes a lot of patience, especially, if you weren't born with a phone in your hand. So Talk a little bit about why it was you decided to start a business where you basically help people figure stuff out all day long.
Um, so as I was saying about the leadership stuff, I'll just be honest with stuff. I learned a lot about leadership through my high school experience. I was a Girl Scout through all those years, and I led many camps, I led many programs and stuff like that. And then I went into business, and I got a business administration degree, and I did several leadership programs through them, as well as some classes based in leadership. And I really learned what it meant to be a leader and what it also meant to manage. Um, and what I figured out from working in large corporations was that the management didn't give the support that people under them needed. And I didn't have the patience to wait it out to become someone that could manage those large ones. I was honestly thinking about working for Disney World because I thought that's where my calling was. I realized when I did an internship with them, I loved my internship. It's where I met my partner. So I would never take it back. But I also learned that the management there was not where I think management should be. And it was something that I wasn't willing to see every day. It was something that bothered me every day, and I was not going to be able to live my life like that. So I figured out that I wanted to be my own manager, my own leader. And I wanted to still help people. That was one of the big reasons I wanted to work at Disney, and I wanted to make people's vacations amazing, but I wanted to help people. And so I figured out that I was really good at technology and I was really good at assisting. And I figured this out through doing my summer job with Spadig, that I loved helping on their technology side. I loved assisting. And it was one of the best jobs I had. So it was something that I really wanted to move forward with. And I actually figured it out over a Christmas break. I was in the car coming back from Tennessee visiting my great aunt and uncle. And that's when I figured out what virtual assistant was. And I went to classes for it so I could learn what I could do with it and where I could go with it. And then I made it my own. I figured out what was important to me and what I wanted to do. So now I go to clients and I figure out where they're having issues, where they can simplify what they're doing, where I can help support them, what I can take off their plates, and all of these different things along the line, so that we have a great relationship. So um that's really where it was. I use technology to help people. I don't go out my day every day being like, yes, I want to use technology. I go out my day of, yes, how can I help people today? How can I make someone's life a little bit easier today? What can I take off someone's plate? So that's where I go with it. And technology was the best way for me to do it. And it also gave me the flexibility of being where I wanted to be, and still help as many people as possible. So I want to be here in Texas with my partner, but I still can work with people in all different time zones. I don't have a single person in my time zone. I have people in Eastern time zone, I have people in Mountain time zones, I have people all over, but I don't think I have anyone in my time zone right now. Um, I was like, I've worked with some people in my time zone, but like not a full client right now. So it's just, and it makes it so that I can travel and go see my family that's in Florida, and I can still work and still support people and stuff like that. So that's really where I figured out that this was the best calling for me and stuff like that. So
What do you think technology wants for humanity?
oh, um I I don't artificial intelligence is definitely a different beast than technology, and I think it's getting wrapped up together. And I don't I don't think artificial intelligence is something that they should really be tied together. Technology, I think, wants to help humanity link itself. and help bring together people and bring together information and let that be easier. It's just that humans are sometimes taking that and turning it. So the they're taking the coding of social media and changing it to only things that would support your view type. And so that you're getting all this false information and you're into the stereotype where you have all the information in the world, but you're still only seeing stuff that agree with you, even though maybe that's not the truth. It's why there's still people today that believe the earth is still flat. I'm sorry if you still do. I didn't mean to call you out, but that was the only topic I could think of. But it's just knowing that technology isn't the thing going out to hurt you. It's humans behind it and humans using technology to further themselves and even maybe hurt humanity, humans hurt, further their viewpoint by spreading out lies and um all this different things. So I try to um use it to help better um my clients' lives and people's in front of me and try to stay ahead of the people that are trying to corrupt my viewpoints, corrupt anything I'm doing, because I want to stay where I am. So and I just heard about a case where people are using different dating apps or social media or emails, texts, where they're sending conversation starters. So they'll just send messages like it's the wrong number, like, hey, is this Lisa from the diner? And you'd be like, oh no, I'm not Lisa, wrong number. And then they'll start a whole conversation with you, get to know, like act like they're getting to know you and then connect with you just because they ended up finding this information online about you. And then tricking you into spending money that is your own rightful money that you think that your friend's trying to help you, but it's really someone in a foreign country being forced to make this relationship with you so that they don't get killed by the mafias, that it's linked to a lot of Chinese mafia. But that's just so scary and it makes you want to turn away from technology. But it's really that you just need to be aware of what's going on, and aware of the good that technology can bring and also the bad that humanity can turn technology into. That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point because I certainly think it's been the experience of a lot of people in the field of Tantra Mat and in other, folks who have, taken, more spiritual investigations into life. That's sort of one of the things that we found ourselves confronting early on was the notion of our attitudes around money. And that thinking of, right? I mean, what's the phrase, is money is the root of all evil, and having to sort of unpack the fact that, well, no, really, money is a neutral energy and it can be used for tremendous good. And it can also be used for not good at all. And so I think it's an excellent point that technology is the same thing. It really, it really is a neutral energy that can be used in many different ways. And so then it really is, the humans are the ones who are determining how it's used. Will you say a little bit more about how you differentiate technology and AI? Because I think that probably would be helpful for a lot of people.
Um, Technology is something that it's not gathering information necessarily about you. It's where you're just searching Google and asking it what is the state motto of Texas, which is something I looked at last night because someone brought up that I didn't know, and my partner who grew up in Texas didn't know. But by the way, it's friendship. Who would have known Texas state motto would be friendship? But I just Googled that. So that's something technology is allowing through the internet, that you can find this information. And what AI does is it gathers information from around the world as well as yourself, and tries to pretend to be whatever it's supposed to be. So people are using AI to write papers. So it's trying to use like the kind of grammar you would use and information that it's thinking that is correct answer to whatever the prompt is and stuff like that. So it's trying to gather as much information instead of just like looking for the answer. So gathering several different pieces of data, and as it's doing that, it's learning. So it's not technology is just gathering that thing and bringing it to you. AI is learning and learning and learning. It's like another being entirely where it's learning all this information, and where a lot of the like the robots are taking over the world is based in AI because AI is learning. So maybe one day it will be smarter than us and take over the world. That's where the idea comes from. Um, and I I don't want people to get too reliant on AI. It's the easy out for right now. People want to use it, like students want to use it for their papers, because why not just let the robot do it and I can just scroll on social media? Like that just makes sense to my mind. Like, come on. I'm like, what is this paper going to help me with the future? But it won't teach you the skills that you're supposed to be learning in this class because it's an easy out. And AI, because just because it comes from technology doesn't mean that it's giving you the right information. And there's been several shows where they will spit out information that's totally wrong because it's pulling information that can be false. We've all found false information on the internet. Just because it's what the internet says doesn't mean it's always true. You need to find backup sources. The truth is always out there on the internet. You just might have to dig a little deeper because of how the humans have coded it to show up. Um, so I think that's kind of the difference, is that's where AI is being used right now. I think there is um, something really great that can be used with AI, especially with medical information and stuff like that, that one human can't do. And I think there's great possibilities in AI. I just don't want the technology to be abused like technology has already been abused. Um, so the I think that people just need to be careful about how AI is used. So something great until it becomes something dangerous. So.
And to me, being aware of those trajectories and movements is is part of what we can do, as being a global citizen, just like we may pay attention to, you know, the type of car we drive, or, whether we buy from this company or that company based on, their practices of where they get their natural resources from, or, but there's, I think, we can recognize that as a society, we don't just have to let things happen unfettered, right? That we can have a say about what is and is not brought into, our next recursion as humans, and that we can hold for technology to be something that is a beneficial resource rather than a harmful resource. But again, I think part of that is back to understanding, that technology itself is really a neutral resource, and it's the human use of it that determines the outcome it has in society.
It's definitely a tool, and if in the right hands, it can be the most amazing thing on the planet, and in the wrong hands, it can destroy the world. And it's just like any other tool, where it's like you look at guns, like scissors, knives. It's like scissors are great because you can use them to cut things, but if in the wrong hands and it's someone that might have the bad ideas, it can be used to stab someone because like it's still a sharp tool. So it's just how that tool is used. Um, so you shouldn't be fearing the scissors kind of thing. So don't fear the internet because it's not what's going to come in. It's not what's causing the issues. If that makes sense. It's how the technology is being used. Mhm.
Absolutely. So, I know we've talked a lot, and you've said some things already to people about how they can, if they feel like they're a little bit more technology phobic, some tips and tools for approaching. But what else would you want to say about that?
Um, I definitely think give it a chance. And it's something that I think that you don't be upset at yourself if you can't understand first off. Because I did not immediately go to a computer and know how to use it. And then I have troubles. I never learned how to use Acuity until I started working with Tantrumont and I learned how to use it. I'm faster than most people, and that's why people think that I know everything, but I just spend that time and I can understand that language a lot quicker. But it doesn't mean that you can't also. Um, just know where your ultimate goal is and figure out how you can achieve that. And also look for help where you can. There's the world is full of helpful tools and especially behind these programs that you use that there's people that can help you. I don't think there's a single program I haven't reached out to a tech person for. And that's me saying someone that knows a lot about technology. It's I wanted the program to do something I could not make it do and I could not figure out how to make it do. So I wanted someone that actually knew everything about the program to tell me if I could do it or to fix something or what I was doing wrong and stuff like that. So it won't like coding is something that I'm kind of familiar with, but I am definitely not an expert with. I eventually want to learn more about coding, but it's something that I definitely have to go and find help with. Like I will find shortcuts about how to make coding when I need it, and stuff like that. So and like you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I do have space for another client right now. So long term, or if it's something that you just need a help for a couple months to get yourself on the feet and see where we can go. Um, I am more than happy to help you with stuff. Um, but yeah, so just being patient with stuff and making sure you're using the resources out there. You are not the only person that's confused by something. I will promise you that. And the internet probably has the answer for you. There's probably a YouTube video of someone going through it, or there's a blog or an answer somewhere in there. So no matter how weird you think your issue is, I promise it's not unique. It's someone else has experienced it, so you're not alone.
That's something that I've gotten better about myself. So my partner is a software engineer. And so he does code, which, if you're not familiar with coding is basically creating the instructions that you give to, technology to do the things that it does. So I've learned from watching him how he tackles a problem. And that often the very first thing he'll do is like, okay, let's go to Google because somebody out there has already asked this question. Somebody out there is already having this problem. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, there's a video. Somebody's explaining what's going on in a quick way and often it is a very quick, easy fix.
Mhm.
You couldn't find the one freaking button that you needed to be able to push to do, and so in the video there you can see this is where you find the button. Oh, okay. So yeah, I think that's a that's a great thing. And I think that approach has also built my confidence.
Mhm.
Because it used to be that anything computery, the first thing I did was go ask Jason. And now the first thing that I do is Google. And if I don't get anywhere, then I go ask Jason. But so it's given him a little bit of a reprieve being my full-time tech support too. But that's the thing about technology is that it's amazing the information that it's out there. And you have to be careful because it can be a little bit of a rabbit hole, that you can go down. But just recognizing how much wisdom is at your fingertips. To me, that's a really, really powerful aspect of technology. And I do think that, that taking it one little bite at a time is a great way to build your confidence. And I also know for me, I try to be very cognizant of what I call my cognitive load. So basically, cognitive load is the idea of, is how hard your brain is working. And you want your cognitive load to be going to the most important stuff. So, earlier in our talk, Christina was, mentioning how, her goal is to be able to help Tantra focus on the things that Tantra does that really only Tantra does. And take off of her the thing like figuring out how to make, an email show up in somebody's inbox every Tuesday morning or something like that. And so I do think it's really important to ask yourself, like if I'm starting to do something and I feel completely overwhelmed by it, then I know, okay, it's probably better that I get some support. And so, when Christina and I were working on the grant together, that was often the moment at which I was like, okay, is this a Christina thing? So as soon as I could identify this is probably a Christina thing, then I made an appointment to meet with Christina so she could talk me through it, because then my brain power could be sort of on the problem itself, and Christina's brain power was on the, okay, well, what aspects of these could we get technology to do for us? So I do think there's tremendous benefit in knowing when you need support, and in also knowing who you can reach out to for support. And I would say, especially if you're somebody who's venturing into a new world of starting a new business or something like I am, have that person at the ready. So that, because what you don't want to have to do is be freaking out and you're like, oh my gosh, I've got this problem to solve, and now I have to figure out who's going to help me solve the problem. Get that person who's going to help you solve the problem lined up from the very beginning, so you have that support right then and there.
And I will say, don't, especially when it comes to websites, it seems like the scariest thing. And I was very scared by it when I first started endeavoring into doing it. But it's definitely something you can handle. I will tell you that. And I've had my website go down. I've had problems. I've had stuff where I was panicking, like I didn't know what I was gonna do. But you just got to take a deep breath and handle what you can and reach out for help for the problems you can't handle. Because WordPress knows how hard it is, and the theming, people know how hard it is. So that's why they try to put as much support and much user-friendly material as they can. But things happen, and that's why it's like, don't be shocked when you go to certain pages and things might be down. There's a person on the other side that didn't realize something was happening. So it's just be kind with it, let them know, and then they can fix it. So
I feel like those are two really big takeaways. Don't panic. Don't panic. And don't be surprised when things break, because that is the thing about tech, right? Things break. Any other big takeaways as we wrap up our time together here?
Have that patience with technology that you would with any other person. And I like to think of technology as a human being. If that's weird for you, then ignore it. If it helps you understand it, like I was just like, yep, it's cranky on this Thursday night. It did not want to work, so it broke everything and canceled all the subscriptions. That's just how that went. We're gonna figure out how to fix that and help it along, but just makes you relax a little bit and laugh it off, and nothing can be flawless. So because behind everything there is a human. So technology didn't grow out of the earth and as it was. Someone had to create it. Someone had to create the internet. Someone had to create everything you're seeing. So there's coding behind everything. There's all these different things. There's multiple people that stuff is happening to. So that's why I kind of like to think of it as a human being, because it did start with a human being at one place or another.
Christina Golden-Oakes, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us today. I really, Christina's mind has saved my butt on more than one occasion, and I'm grateful that our paths continue to cross. And real quick, your website if they want to reach out to you.
So you can reach out to me two ways. So my website is Encompass Virtual Assistant. Well, it's shortened assistant, so ASST. So Encompass ENCOMPASS Virtual ASST.com. And it's also going to be in the description in a few minutes as well. And then my email is just that part of the email at gmail.com. So Encompass Virtual Shortened Assistant at gmail.com. So yeah.
Thanks, Christina.
Mhm.
Talk soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.